Hey race fans, it's race day, top 5 with me, Frank 5. Playoffs underway. Yes, the playoffs. Jim Mora. Playoffs, don't talk about playoffs. Yes, talk about playoffs. NASCAR playoffs already underway. One race in the books. Viva Las Vegas. There was a lot of adversity for the playoff drivers. Yet one driver comes out on top, earns the money, and is on to the next round. Number 1, Martin Truex Jr., who's been Mr. Mile and a Half over the last couple of years. He's only had 1 mile and a half win earlier this year, and that was in the Coca-Cola 600. Yesterday night, he captured his 2nd mile and a half win of the season, winning at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, clinching the South Point Hotel and Casino 400, and locking himself into the round of 12, winning over Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney. I gotta tell you what, Martin Truex Jr.'s team fought hard for this. They didn't qualify well. They started off a little bit slow in the race, mid-pack, weren't making a whole lot of ground. Then stage 2, he started coming alive and caught Joey Logano at the end of that second stage and took the victory, earning himself 1 playoff point. And then as we got to the middle of stage 3, he was kind of struggling, said, I'm just hanging on for dear life. His car was like out of control, yet they kept working on the car and they made it even better. And on the last green flag pit stop of the run leading up to the end of the race, he was able to chase down Kevin Harvick and literally close up on him, leaving the pits. He gained so much, particularly his pit crew, and got him up to Kevin Harvick, and he was able to capitalize on Harvick being stuck in lap traffic, got by, and he never looked back and went on to win the race. I mean, we all know Martin Truex Jr. was going to make it to the round of 12 anyways, but this guy hadn't won since June early this year, and it was at Sonoma. So to come back and get your first win in almost a couple of months and your 5th win of the season is a statement. And Martin Truex Jr. could be going to Homestead with this victory and building up with these playoff points. 5 points for the win, 1 point for stage win. Martin Truex Jr. I think is a guarantee to go to Homestead. Number 2, Kevin Harvick, who almost sealed the deal until Truex caught up. He had to work for it as well. They qualified up in the top 4, all 4 of the Storehouse cars in the top 4 positions, only 3 of them playoff drivers. Kevin Harvick pretty much stayed in the top 5 most of the race. It kind of didn't really look so good in the second stage. He kind of fell back. Then in the third stage, he took the lead, and it looks like he was going to drive away with the thing. And he had a decent pit stop in that last green flag pit stop, but he just wasn't able to hold off Martin Truex Jr. He just wasn't strong enough. But for Kevin Harvick to come in with the top 5, considering all the talk about who's been the best as far as qualifying a race trim with the Storehouse cars and the Penske guys, considering that those two are definitely one of the top 3 favorite teams to win the championship this year, Harvick put it to those Penske guys yesterday. So kudos to the 4 car. Number 3, Penske. Wow, they had quite a night. Brad Keselowski finished 3rd. That car was awful in the beginning of the race. I mean, he was around the top 20. They even go to Hood at the end of stage 2 to try and work on the balance because like his car was plowing, and it worked because they got up to 3rd place. They didn't earn any stage points. And I know Keselowski fans are probably a little bit concerned about the performance, but to fix the car and make it better for the final stage when it really mattered to get a top 3. That's a strong performance by the 2 team. Ryan Blaney also had a decent performance, running in the top 10. Got up and led the race for just a couple of laps, and he fell back. But coming away with the top 5, after most people would say, well, Blaney has been the best of the drivers to lead the most laps this year, yet not win a race. And people probably had him written off after the round of 16, like probably, be eliminated. But this run helps him, especially to Richmond next weekend, because he is not good at Richmond. He needs to bring on a top 10 or top 15 next weekend in order to be safe going into the Roval, which he won last year. So Blaney fans, stay optimistic. It looks like you're going to the round of 12, but you got to have a strong run at Richmond. And Joey Logano was the best car. I mean, he was dominant. He started 22nd, and at lap 35, he was the leader of the race. That car was flying. I mean, he won stage 1. He had like a 10-second gap over everybody else at the end of that stage, winning it. That's how good his car was. Second stage, some other guys started to catch up, like Truex, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, even Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Larson, and William Byron. Logano was feeling the heat. And then in stage 3, he got in the wall a little bit after some contact with Kyle Larson and a couple of other people. And that probably hurt the balance of the car, and he had to restart at the back of the field, yet somehow recovered for a 9th place finish. I know Logano fans probably going, well, we should have won that race. To come back from all that damage and finish 9th after being that dominant, that's still a good run for the 22 team. Number 4, while Martin Truex Jr. was so strong, his good teammates ran into a little bit of trouble. Let's start with Denny Hamlin, who everybody's saying, other than Truex, one of the Penske guys, Keselowski, Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch is the favorite. Hamlin, I had optimism that Hamlin was going to drive his way to the front. He was kind of in the left part of the top 10, almost got to the lead at one point at the beginning of stage 3 because there were a lot of comers and goers. Yet somehow his car just fell off and they just lost the balance of that thing, and he slid all the way back and finished with the top 15. I think he got 15th place. Not a good performance by the 11 car. I don't know what in the world happened to them. Now, Kyle Busch, he had probably a night to forget. Even with all those playoff points, that's insurance. He still doesn't care. Lap 3, he didn't qualify well, and he doesn't really like this package. Qualified way mid-pack, and on lap 3, grazed the outside wall and had to pit, fell 2 laps behind, and it took him quite a while, but at the beginning of stage 3 with a couple of cautions, he was able to get both his lap back and drove all the way up into the top 5, and it looked like he was going to get a top 5 finish. Until in 1 and 2, he was coming up on a slower car, Garrett Smithley, the Rick we're racing Ford. He was trying to catch and pass William Byron, and he tries to change lanes, and Smithley's already there, and Smithley starts slowing down, and Kyle runs into the back of him, and that broke the front splitter of the car, and the front was pushed back in. He lost so much air. I mean, there's so much drag on the front of that car. He kept losing spots and finished 19th, and he was also upset with Joey Gase, who, he ran into a little bit off of turn 4 towards the end of the race. So Kyle Busch was not really happy at all. He says, I can't believe these guys, that have run modified races and have never won them, and they come to NASCAR and they just don't show anything. They don't show respect for the, the big guys that are out there fighting for playoff points and fighting for the playoffs. That's Kyle Busch. That's all I can say. And Eric Jones, not a good start at all. He got a stage point. He got 1 playoff point in the top 10 at stage 1. But at stage 2, on the restart, he got stuck in second gear, and he had to go to the garage and lost a lot of laps for that. Eric Jones already behind the 8 ball, 24 points, I believe it is, 22, 24, 26 points. Eric Jones is in a must-win situation, and based off of, this is kind of what happened to him last year, because he got crashed early on in the race in Vegas with Kevin Harvick, and he was never really able to recover in the playoffs. I don't think Eric Jones can recover from this. If he were to win, then that would be an automatic lock-in, as long as you don't get disqualified after the race if you fail post-race inspections. But I don't think Eric Jones is going to advance after what happened last night. So, Eric Jones fans, he had a lot of momentum going into the playoffs with solid runs and the win of the Southern 500. I think the momentum's gone for the moment until he could find it next weekend in Richmond. And number 5, adversity. A lot of the playoff drivers faced adversity for most of the night. I talked about Joey Logano, talked about Jones, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski. They all faced adversity. Other people, William Byron was running up in the top 10. Stage 3, he had contact with Ryan Blaney, cut the left rear tire, spun around, yet stayed in the lead lap, and rebounded to finish 7th. That's perfect. Ryan Newman struggled with the car all night long. It was so loose, yet comes away with a top 10 finish. Clint Bowyer started on the pole, and I expected him to be in the top 10. They lost the balance of that car, and it just was not right the rest of the race. They finished 25th, and he's in a must-win situation. And Kurt Busch, Mr. Consistency, cuts a left front tire after contact with somebody. I don't know who it was, because I didn't really see what was happening, because they were focusing on all the leaders battling up towards the front. Kurt Busch, Matt McCall told him, come to pits next time by. It was a lap too late, went up and hit the outside wall. And Kurt Busch finished dead last. The beauty is he earned some stage points. He's only 14 points behind the cutoff line. I think that could be made up because he's really good at Richmond and he's good at road course races. So I think Kurt Busch can make up the points. He just has to finish in the top 10 in every stage the next few weeks and pray that the other guys in front of him don't earn stage points. So that's what basically happened with the drivers in the playoffs, facing adversity. Some were able to overcome it, some weren't. Some were in the hole, some are above the cut line and, okay position moment because we don't know what's going to happen in Richmond and that Roval. And I'm very excited for the Roval because I'm going to be there. Finally, recap driver Chase Elliott, 4th place, great start to the playoffs. And off of practice, everybody said, Chase Elliott, watch out for him. He should be fast. Stage 1, we were a little bit okay floating around the top 10. Then stage 2, we came alive, baby. We were flying. We were catching Joey Logano. Looked like we were going to get him. Ultimately finished 5th at the end of that stage. And then stage 3, we took the lead and held up for 11 laps. Then, cautions came out, we pitted, and we actually, on restarts where Kurt Busch had contact, we also got hit in the left rear quarter panel and had a tire up. And luckily, a caution came out for Kurt Busch. We pitted, we were able to fix the fender and the left rear quarter panel, and we drove all the way back up to the front. The car was fast. I mean, maybe if we had another caution, we could have challenged Truex and Harvick and those guys. But nonetheless, 4th place, great start to the playoffs, 30 points above the cut line. That sounds safe, but I'm not going to be happy until we're above that cut line after the Roval. So, got to keep fighting, but nonetheless, great start to Chase Elliott and the playoffs. So up next, Saturday night under the lights at Richmond International Raceway. What's going to happen? Can Martin Truex Jr., who scored his first short track win at that track earlier this year, can he go back to back? Can he sweep both the Richmond races this year? Will Joey Logano make up for a dominant car last night and win this race? Can Kyle Busch put behind what was probably a really bad start for him in the playoffs, despite all the playoff points, and win at Richmond, even though he says you can't pass there, which was pretty much true considering you couldn't pass there earlier this year, but you never know this time around. We shall see, and we will find out. So, subscribe, like, congrats to Martin Truex Jr. The playoffs are underway, baby! And you better be above the cut line after the Roval if you want to keep your playoff hopes alive. See you later, and have a nice week.